up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It is Haley, and today I am doing a review, demo, and first impression of the unicorn brush set that you've probably seen all over Instagram and all over online. So today I'm going to be showing you guys a really in-depth look into the brushes and the brush set. I'm actually going to be doing my makeup with the brushes so you can actually see how they apply and not just how they look physically. And then I'm going to be talking about what I think of them, how I feel, and talk about the cost breakdown, where I purchased it, the differences between purchasing it on an American site and a European site, and all of that good stuff. So if this is something that you've been considering purchasing, I definitely recommend watching this video. I would also like to mention that in my real life, as my profession, I am a makeup artist. I know a lot of people on YouTube make makeup tutorials and all of that, and that's amazing, good, and great, but I do have training and extensive knowledge on makeup and makeup brushes, quality, and all of that good stuff. So I hope that my opinion and feelings on these will be helpful to you guys. So the first part of this video, I just wanted to show you guys what I will be talking about and give you guys just a little bit of basic information of the brushes. Here is the brush case. This guy is from unicornlashes.co.uk. I did purchase these off the European website, and the actual maker of these brushes is European, so it was the official creator's website. These can be purchased on Dolls Kill if you are in America. Definitely keep that in mind. I'll talk about price differences and shipping differences in a second. These kind of blew up all over Instagram and online. You get 10 brushes. They're absolutely adorable. You can see they come in this adorable little holographic diamond case. It is very nicely made, diamonds on both sides. Then you get this nice little black zipper all the way around, and it comes with these two little unicorn charms on the zips. Really, really cute. You open it up and you get 10 different unicorn brushes. The brushes include multi-colored hair. This is all synthetic. The Taclon is also synthetic, and the brushes are 100% vegan and cruelty-free, which is awesome. So here they all are. I will be taking them out and talking about them individually, so stay tuned. Off of first glance and first touch and first feel, the brushes themselves are really soft. They are a lot lighter than I expected them to be. A couple cute features, as I previously mentioned, the brushes have multicolored hair on them, so blue, green, purple, pink, maybe a little bit of yellow in there as well. There is a unicorn symbol embossed on the metal portion of the brush, which is really pretty and a nice little touch. And then you have this iridescent unicorn horn shaped stem or handle. So really, really cutely made. Upon receiving the brushes, I don't know if Dolls Kill will do this, but when I ordered from the European website of Unicorn Lashes, they sent me this really cute little unicorn guide. It basically breaks down all the brushes in order in which you receive them. It gives you some tips and tricks on how to use them. It's just really like a general instruction type manual. It's laminated, so it's really nice, and then you get this cute little print on the front. So I thought this was really cool and would be really helpful for people who are beginners in makeup. So now to talk about price. On unicornlashes.co.uk, the brushes run 45 British pounds per set, and that is equivalent to $47.77 in USD or American dollars, and that would mean that each brush is worth about $4.77. That's not including any cost for the actual case. So in reality, each brush is even less than like $4.75 a piece, which is a pretty good deal. I do want to mention I did pay quite a bit for shipping since I did order from a European website. Shipping was £14.99, so that made my total £59.99 British pounds, or $76.46 in American money. That was my total for this set. However, if you purchase it on Dolls Kill, the entire set is $65, which, yes, is more expensive than the set would be on unicornlashes.co.uk. However, Dolls Kill has free shipping, so that is going to be your total on Dolls Kill, assuming you just get the set. So you would be saving about $11 or so when you purchase on Dolls Kill if you are in America. I know right now, which is going to be different for everyone whenever you watch this, but right now the Unicorn Lashes website does not have any in stock and Dolls Kill does. So if you are in America or somewhere around here and Europe is not close by, I would recommend checking out Dolls Kill and seeing if you could get a better deal on their website. So the next thing I want to talk about is all about the brushes themselves. I want to talk about each type of brush and what they can all be used for. And I'm going to be referencing this handy little guide that I received from the actual website. So the first brush is called Blending is My Cardio, and it says creating ombre effect eyes and transitions of color seamlessly with a curved bristles head to fit into the contours of the eyelid. So this is supposed to be one of the blending brushes that you want to use right here. It has a little bit of a flat side to it, and then when you turn it, it gives you more of that fluffy side, so you can use it for both blending in the contours of the eye and then for blending out. So next we have the Fleeky Brows brush. This says, don't be limited to just brows with this baby. Use her to create feline cat flicks and smudged out smoke eyes. And don't forget to brush those brows out with a lash comb for a natural finish. So this is just your basic everyday angled brush. It has a pretty substantial size to it, which I like. It also has a nice thin side to it, so you can get pretty clean lines when you are doing your brows or eyeliner. This is the Wisp Me Away powder brush. It says dip your powder brush into loose powder, tapping the excess off, then dust all over the face in round motions for an airbrushed finish and makeup that doesn't budge. It has a little bit of a point to it, otherwise it's pretty dome shaped. The brush is fluffy while also having the bristles close together, so you can still get a good amount of pigment and coverage when you are doing your powder. Next we have the Chisel Cheeks sculpting brush. This says, my sculpting contour brush. I find contouring hard, I won't lie, but this brush makes it super easy peasy. Make sure to tap excess off before applying. So this is a completely flat topped brush. It has a pretty nice width to it, and you want to hug this in the contours of your cheek right here. So I'm excited to try this guy out. Then we have the Spot It, a multi-purpose concealer buffer brush which can provide coverage to dark circles and discoloration, along with correction to those with redness around the nose. This guy also has a little bit of a dome shape to it. It's pretty small. It's about the size of the top of my fingernail. Then we have the Crease Proof. This brush provides featherlight blending for a defined crease, the ultimate finisher in our Unicorn Ultimate Kit. This is just your basic blending brush, nice and fluffy, but still condensed enough to give you a good amount of pigment on your eyes. Then we have the fan brush called Strobe Alert. Who doesn't love a good fan brush? Highlight that cupid's bow just above the eyebrows, down the center of the nose, and tops of the cheeks for the perfect glow. Also great for sweeping away excess setting powder under the delicate under eye area. Just your basic fan brush. This guy is really, really thin. There is not a lot of brush hairs in here, so I believe it will be very, very light and natural in terms of applying the product. Now we have the Buff Up foundation brush. It says, my flat top foundation brush is perfect for buffing in liquid or cream foundation into your skin. It's not so dense it absorbs all the foundation, but still blends everything seamlessly, and is ideal for blending along the face and neck to avoid a strong foundation line. So it's just a flat top foundation brush, really, really soft. and also excited to try this guy out. Almost done, you guys. This one is the Bare-Faced Blush Brush. I use my blusher brush for a fresh-faced rosy glow. The brush isn't too big that you end up looking like clown cheeks, especially for those with a smaller face like me. Dab into the product, tapping the excess off, and use on the apple of cheeks. The shape is quite tapered, so use in a circular motion to create even cheeks. It has a nice angle to it, and it's still like a big enough brush to where you will get coverage when you're applying it. Last but not least is the On Cloud Glitter Brush. It says the tapered but soft bristles of this brush make it perfect for packing on color and glitter along with precise eyeshadow application. So this is the type of brush I would personally use for packing. I like to use these types of brushes on my lid just to get color on there like so. It looks like this. Alright, so now that I've gone over all of the different types of brushes, I'm going to start applying. I do want to mention that the makeup I'm doing today is not meant to be exciting or fun or really for you to follow along on. It's simply to see how the brushes work and what they look like when used on the skin, and to give you guys my opinion on whether you should purchase them or not. So I hope you guys have been okay with seeing me so barefaced this whole video. Now it is time to get into the makeup. I already have moisturizer and primer on my face, so I am going to start out with foundation. So the first brush we're going to use is the foundation brush from the Unicorn set. This guy was called the Buff Up brush. So tonight I'm going to use my L'Oreal Pro Glow foundation. So I'm going to put some on here, zoom you guys in. So far I really like this brush. It's doing a pretty good job of applying my foundation quite evenly. I like how the finish is looking. It doesn't look super fake or brushed on. I know a lot of brushes can give you that whole like stripey look, and that isn't cute. The only thing I will say is that I am having to dip into product a lot of times, and that happens a lot with brushes that aren't super condensed because it is slipping down into the cracks of the brush, which you can literally see right here. See how far the foundation has soaked up in the brush? It is using up a lot of my foundation and only applying a portion of it to my face. So that is one problem I will say I'm having. Otherwise, it looks pretty nice. I had a beauty blender on deck just in case I might need it, but it looks like by doing these little tapping motions, it's helping the finish of the foundation to look more natural, and I'm pretty happy with it. One thing I do want to mention is it did shed a couple of brush hairs, but the first time you use brushes, I know that is quite common. So here's what it looks like. So next up, I'm taking my favorite concealer, which is the Shape Tape by Tarte. I'm going to apply this under my eyes and around my nose, and then I'm going to blend in using the Unicorn concealer brush. So here is the concealer brush from the set. So it's by no means doing a horrible job. I think I'm just used to using a concealer brush that is a little bit bigger in general, so it just blends out a lot quicker. I'm having to go over every little portion with these dabbing motions, and it's definitely taking some time. It's not doing a bad job at blending it out. It's just a little bit more time consuming. You can see though it's not a perfect blend. I'm not sure if that is just because I'm using a different type of brush and I'm not used to it, or it might be because of the brush, because it's really, really small. One thing I am noticing though, like the foundation brush, is it is soaking up a ton of my concealer. The foundation had gotten down to about a third into the brush, but you can see this concealer brush, it is almost fully soaked up the concealer all the way down to the metal portion of the brush. You can barely even see what the bristles originally looked like. And here is my concealer so far. It is a little smaller than I would have liked it to be. I'm going to go back in with the foundation brush and just kind of further blend out those edges so there's no obvious line where the two come together. So next I'm going to do my eyebrows using the angled brush, this guy right here. I'm using all makeup products that I use on a semi-regular or totally regular basis because I know how these work and I know these are good and work with and on my skin. And that way I'm able to tell, okay, it's not the makeup that's the problem, it's the brushes if that does happen. So all the makeup and everything I am using is all stuff that I've used a million times before and I know works for me. So for this I'm using Brow by Benefit. And I'm not sure how you can mess up an angled brush, so I have a feeling that this is gonna work out just fine, or at least I am definitely hoping. So this angle brush is a little bit thicker than the brushes I'm used to working with, which isn't necessarily good or bad, it's just different. I'm definitely gonna have to go in on this brow. Yeah, this is a little messier than I'm used to, but this could definitely be just human error and have nothing to do with the quality of the brush. I'm gonna go off camera for a second and just kind of clean up the edges of my brow and do the other one. Alright you guys, so I am back and I just wanted to quickly give you guys a couple comments on what I think about the brow brush. First of all, I definitely am used to a brush a little bit smaller. I grabbed one of the brushes that I usually do my eyebrows with and I just wanted to show you what it looked like compared to the unicorn brush. So the gold one is the one I usually use and this silver one is the unicorn brush. You can see it also has more of a thickness to it. And like I said before, neither of these things are necessarily bad, they're just different. It's something that I'm not used to as of yet, but I did notice on the second brow it was even harder to use than on my first brow because the bristles in the brush had started to soak in a lot of the product. I have definitely noticed a pattern so far that all the brushes seem to be doing that, so that is definitely a big note on what I have noticed and seen so far. So next I'm going to do my eyeshadow. I'm just going to make a super basic quick eyeshadow look just so I can try the brushes. I'm not trying to go out or, you know, do a tutorial or anything. This is strictly to show you guys how the brushes work and what I think of them. So it's gonna be quick and easy. I'm gonna pop on a little bit of primer and then we will jump into the eye makeup. Alright, so I threw some primer on and I'm going to do just a super simple brown makeup look using my Lorac Mega Pro 3 palette. And the first brush I'm going to go in with is called Crease Proof, which is just the basic blending brush, and I don't see why this brush would have any problems whatsoever. It looks like it'll work just fine. It's synthetic, it's a blending brush, let's do it. So I'm just going in with a nude color called Crepe, and I'm going to take this right above my crease One thing I do want to mention as I'm doing this is I'm noticing that because the stem of the brush is so thin and goes to a really small little point, I'm used to holding a substantially thicker handle, and this is so thin and goes to such a small little point, and it's so light. I don't really know how to explain it other than it feels weird. I'm used to just something a little bit heavier with a little bit more thickness to it, but the blending itself, I don't see anything super different than I would with any blending brush. It is soaking in a lot of the product again. I think that's just something that we're going to have to come to terms with. And now I'm going to take the color Toffee, which is a really soft beigey brown, and I'm gonna go right above the crease. It feels so strange holding it at the end of the handle because I feel like I'm gonna snap it. Now I'm going to take the Blending Is My Cardio brush. This is also a blending brush, but it has a flat side versus being round all the way around. You can see there's the flatness to it. Let's do Maple, and this is gonna go right in my crease. And these brushes that have the flatness to them are really meant to go in the crease. And I'm holding this so far on the end of the handle, and it feels so strange that it's so thin. It feels like it's gonna fall out of my hand. And like I mentioned, these are not the greatest eye looks. This is not supposed to be a tutorial. This is just me doing a first impression and a demo and trying these out. I gotta say though, it's pretty much doing what it's supposed to. I feel like this one is laying down the color better than the blending brush did, but given it has a flat side, that is often the case. So now I'm moving on to the brush called On Cloud Glitter. It is said that it is used for packing on color and glitter. I'm going to be using it as a packing brush, and I'm gonna pack some color on my lids. I'm going to pop into a kind of gold bronzy color called Cider and lay this down on my lids. It's a little bit shorter than the packing brushes I'm used to, but otherwise it does lay it on quite nicely. I don't notice a lot of fallout, so the bristles are picking up a good amount of product and then laying the pigment back down on my eyelid, which is exactly what you want, so that's definitely nice. There is a little bit of fallout, but not a lot. You can see though that it is picking up a lot of the product and keeping it on the actual brush, but that's something that we've already noticed in a lot of the other brushes from the set. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this brush, other than a little bit of fallout. Okay, so now that I'm done with the tops of my eyes, I'm going to go back to my face, and I'm going to grab the powder brush from the set. This is called the Wisp Me Away brush. It's the biggest of all of the 10, and it is dome shaped with a little bit of a point, which will be nice to kind of get all the edges around your nose and all the little spots where you kind of have to have that point in order to fully access that part of your face. So I'm just going to dip this into my Studio Fix NC10 powder. I'm gonna blot into the powder quite a few times so it gets really on there and apply it all over my face. So this is a little bit more fluffy than the powder brushes I normally use. For a bronzer, I would use a brush this fluffy, but for setting my foundation for this type of powder, I like something that is more condensed so I get more coverage and can control more where I lay the product down. I am noticing that it isn't laying down a ton of product. I'm having to go in and do quite a few rounds, I guess I should say. You can see it's already soaked up a lot of that powder, and it really hasn't dispersed a lot on my face. I probably wouldn't use this brush for something like face powder where you really want to do a lot and set all over your face. I would use this for something like bronzer where you just need a really soft little layer and it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect and seamless and even all over. So I actually will go ahead and dip into some bronzer as well, just so we can kind of see what that looks like. So using that same powder brush, I'm going to grab some Too Faced bronzer. It is the Chocolate Soleil. I'm gonna get a pretty good amount on there. Okay, yeah, that's better. And it's blending it out quite nicely. The bronzer, I think it did a lot better of a job than the MAC Studio Fix powder. And here's what the brush looks like at the end. You can see there's definitely a lot of powder soaked into the bristles. It's about halfway down. Alright, so now I am going to pop in with the blush brush. This is called the Bare Face Blush Brush, or in Europe they call it blusher. So it's a little bit smaller than the blush brush I normally use. Let me do a side by side. This one is from Sigma. The Unicorn Lashes brush is quite a bit smaller. So I'm going to take my Charlotte Tilbury Cheek to Chic Ecstasy Swish and Pop blusher. I like to do blush more on top of the cheekbones than on the apple, just because of the shape of my face. I feel that it looks better. So it's actually applying it really nicely. It laid down a lot more product, a lot more blush than I thought it was going to. It's not a great blush blending brush. That was a tongue twister. Just because it is a bit smaller, it's not as fluffy and it's more compact, the bristles are. So I'm not getting a great blend on it, but it laid the color down exactly where I wanted it. For some reason, this one doesn't seem to be soaking up as much product in the bristles as the other ones did. So that is a good sign. Maybe because it's not as fluffy, so the bristles are closer together and therefore the product isn't just falling down into the cracks every time I swish it around. But this is applying really nicely, and the shape is good because it is hugging the contours of my cheek. I do wish it was a tad bit fluffier, but I'm really happy with how it's making the product look. Now I'm going to jump in with the contour brush, which is flat. This brush is very different from the contour brush I normally use. If you guys watch any of my makeup tutorials, you know this is my favorite brush to contour with. It's from Morphe. It is a ginormous fan brush. It's pretty thick. Here's a little side-by-side comparison. You can see this is like a fraction of the size of the fan brush. This is just kind of the brush I prefer to use over the years, but I'm definitely open to trying this. They're similar as far as this obviously has that kind of like fan shape to it, and this is just a more exaggerated and bigger version. So I'm going to dip in with the Anastasia contour kit and see how this guy contours. I'm just going to tap that straight in, and I'm making sure to get all along the edge, as you can see. And I like to do a little healthy mix of the 3 bottom contour colors. So I'm gonna make my little fish face and just go right in that crevice where the natural line of the face is made. Okay, it's laying down the product nicely. However, now that I have more than enough pigment down, I'm not quite sure that blending it at this point is an option. Well, I'm turning it sideways, so I had it like this to lay it down, and now I'm turning it sideways, and I'm gonna have to use another brush to blend it out. So I'm gonna go back in with the powder brush again. I think that after using these, I'm starting to like them a lot more. So as far as contouring, yes, this is a contour brush, but you are going to need another brush to blend it out unless you know some magic tricks that I don't. The last couple brushes haven't been taking in a whole lot of product, which is nice. Now I'm going to go in with the last brush for the face, and in general. This will be the 10th brush. This brush is so very light. This is the fan brush. It has the littlest amount of hairs in the actual brush. It's really, really soft though, but you can see there's really not a lot of bristles in this brush. So I'm going to use the Rose Quartz by Becca, which is one of my favorite highlighters. It is so pretty. There she is. And this brush is called Strobe Alert, by the way. So let's apply. I'm not used to using fan brushes for highlighters, so I always feel kind of weird the few times I do it. This brush is so light, it's hard to work with just because it feels like there's not really anything in my hand. There's no substantial grip to it, but I don't know, it did a pretty good job. What do you guys think? And the other side. This is the highlighter brush that I use quite often, or some version of this type of brush. So you can see it's totally different than the brush I just used. I like this one because you can blend it, but you can also place it. You can put it wherever you need to. This is just kind of awkward because there's not enough bristles to actually really give you a blend. Even though I felt kind of weird using the brush because it's not a brush I personally like to use for highlighter, it did a really good job of laying the product down. So now that we've used all the brushes, I am going to pop back to a couple of the eye brushes just so I can like finish the look. The angled brush I used for my brows, I actually cleaned off. I'm going to try to do eyeliner with it. It is really thick, as I mentioned earlier, so I'm a little nervous about it, but we're going to definitely give it a try. So I'm gonna zoom you guys in. Here's what it looks like now that I washed it off. The green is a little bit darker than when I first got it and hadn't put any product on it. So that is something to keep in mind, that these brushes, after they've had a lot of product on them, they will eventually, you know, get stained. I don't know how long that's going to take, but it will happen eventually. So just keep that in mind. They're not going to look pretty and perfect forever. So I'm used to using actual pins to do eyeliner. I use angled brushes on all my clients, but pins on myself. So I'm not the best at this in the first place, so I do want you to keep that in mind. Here's it with the eyeliner on it. I'm using the Tarte Amazonian Clay Black Brown Dual Liner. It looks like this. Okay, so I've done the top line, which was quite challenging. Now I'm going to attempt to do a wing, and God only knows how that's going to do. It's not terrible, but not the best either. But keep in mind, like I said, I'm not used to using an angled brush for eyeliner. Alright, so there is the liner. Just for fun, I'm going to throw a little bit of some sort of lip on and a little bit of mascara just to finish the look. Alright you guys, so now that I have used all of the brushes, I have demoed them for you and really done a first impression of each and every one, I'm just going to quickly review all of them in total and kind of tell you what I liked and what I didn't like about each, and then I'm going to show you my favorite brushes of all of them and my least favorite brushes out of all of them, and then talk about the pros and cons of the set, and finally if I would recommend that you purchase them. The first brush I'm going to talk about is going to be the foundation brush. So this little guy has a flat top. It applied my foundation pretty nicely. It did a really good job of applying it evenly and getting it all over my skin. It soaked up a lot of foundation, as we mentioned a million times, so that was a definite con for this brush, but overall I really like how it applied my makeup. The concealer brush, this little round guy, I wasn't a huge fan of. I'm used to using a concealer brush that is quite a bit bit bigger. I found that I had to spend a lot of time dotting in where I needed the foundation to blend, and it just was really time consuming, and then at the end it didn't completely blend it out, but I definitely didn't hate it. The bonus to being a little smaller than when I usually use is you definitely can get right up under your lash line and around the edge of your nose, so that was a good thing about this brush. The powder brush I actually really enjoyed for bronzer and then blending everything after. I didn't love it for setting my foundation. I would use something a little bit more dense in the future, but it did a great job in sculpting foundation and blending my contour and my blush, and overall I really liked it. The blush brush put my blush on beautifully. I think it did a great job placing it exactly where I wanted it. Again, I couldn't blend it out, but I used the blending brush from the set to do that, so no problem. The contour brush definitely placed a good amount of pigment on the skin, and I was able to place it exactly where I needed it. And just like I said about the blush brush, it wasn't able to blend out the product once it was laid down, but no problem because I was able to use the powder brush for that after as well. The fan brush was a little bit difficult for me to use because it is so light. Like, I wish you guys could feel heaviness through the camera just so you could see what I'm talking about. But from the highlighter I used, it looks like it placed it pretty nicely and it looks beautiful. You definitely still see a very intense highlight. I don't know how much of that is the highlight I'm using and how much is the brush I'm using, but it did, you know, a good job. I'm definitely happy with how it looks. Now for the eye brushes, the first blending brush I liked worked just like a blending brush. The one thing I will say is I wish it was a little bit fluffier just so you could blow out the look you're blending out a little tiny bit more, but overall it does what a blending eyeshadow brush does, so it definitely works. The blending brush that has a flat side to it, I did like this brush. I do feel that it needs to be either a little bit more flat or a little bit more fluffy, like either one or the other on either side, just because both sides were kind of like it was kind of flat and kind of fluffy. I would rather it have been kind of flat and really fluffy, or really flat and kind of fluffy. Hopefully that makes sense. The packing brush did a good job. It did what I needed it to. It laid down the product where I needed it to, and I really liked it because it actually picked up a lot of product and then hardly left any fallout, which is a definite bonus in a packing brush, so I loved that about this brush. And last but not least, the brush I used for my eyebrows and my eyeliner. Probably not my favorite angle brush just because it is quite a bit bigger than ones I usually use, but I could see myself using this in the future and maybe getting used to the size and shape. I think it's all about preference because I do know some people like a bigger, wider angled brush, and if that's you, then you might love this. So out of the total of 10 brushes, I had 6 that I would recommend or use on a normal basis. It is the powder brush, the contour brush, the foundation brush, the blush brush, the packing brush, and the blending brush. So these definitely get a thumbs up from me. The brushes that I feel I probably wouldn't use on a regular basis would be the concealer brush, the fan brush, the eyeliner / eyebrow brush, and the flat blending brush. These just weren't quite up to par for me personally. So I want to talk about the pros and cons of the set in general, and I have some notes. First, I want to talk about the cons. One of the big cons for me was how lightweight these brushes are compared to a normal brush. It's like once you've done it for so many years, for such a long time, you get used to that weight in your hand. When you find that you're trying a new brush and it is so much lighter, it's kind of like you have to adjust all of the other parts of applying the makeup. These are very lightweight. These brushes equal less than $4.50 a piece. So you're not buying a $20 or $30 brush. So these aren't going to be the best quality. You're getting a great deal, and they're beautiful and they're packaged nicely and they come with a case and they're colorful and they're cute and they're kitschy. You're not getting, you know, like a MAC brush or a Sigma brush, you are getting something that is a little bit more cheaply made. That's just facts. That's not me being rude or throwing shade. I've never felt a brush this light in my life. I'm talking specifically about this one, the fan brush. It is so light. I feel like I could just really easily snap this. So that definitely is one con about the brush. Another con is the amount of product that these brushes soaked up, namely the foundation brush, the concealer brush, and the powder brush. These three in particular soaked up a lot of product. I know a lot of brushes do soak up product, especially when they are synthetic. When there's this much foundation and you've only used it once and it's that far down into the bristles, think about how much foundation is in there, and that translates to money and translates to less product for you to use in the future. I did mention the weight, but I also wanted to mention the handle shape. Since it goes from thick to very thin, it is a little awkward when you're holding it down further to the end of the brush and applying it. It's just you're holding such a small little stem that it just feels kind of weird and foreign. And a lot of these cons I'm mentioning are things that you can and will get used to if you use these brushes a number of times. So these aren't necessarily like end all be all, don't get it, like bad cons. These are just things that I noticed. Another con for these brushes, like I previously mentioned, is over time products will stain the hairs on the brush. These brushes are synthetic, so they are dyed, so it is basically dye color on a white brush. And these bristles started out white, so any color, especially like pinks and reds and really pigmented purples, greens, etc., they're going to stain the brush. It might not happen the first couple of uses, but after 6 or so months when you're washing a brush and it's not getting back to the pretty pastel colors it once was, that's because it is stained. So definitely keep that in mind. The last con I wanted to mention is that these are all, you know, blending brushes, angled brushes, powder brushes, eyeliner brushes, blush, highlighter, etc. These are all brushes that I already own. Anyone that does have a pretty substantial makeup collection probably will have the majority of these brushes. You're probably going to purchase these because you think they're cute or you just want to give something new and different a try. So those were all the cons of the brush set, and now I'm going to talk about the pros. The first thing I want to talk about is the cost. Overall on Doll's Kill it would be 65 US dollars. I ended up spending with tax on unicornlashes.co.uk a total of $76.46. So I would have saved $11 and some change had I bought them from Doll's Kill. And like I previously mentioned, that breaks down to being either $7.64 a brush or $6.50 a brush. Either way, that is a great deal for a makeup brush. And that's not even taking into account this really nice case that it comes with, which is super cute and actually pretty well made. It has some sort of kind of like satin material on the inside. You get these nice heavy metal charms. It's double-sided, has this nice holographic material on it, super cute, and you could use this for other things besides makeup brushes. So you are getting a really good deal for 10 brushes. Obviously, another pro is that they are unique and adorable. I know that when this company came out with these brushes, it completely hit the internet by storm. The Unicorn Lashes Instagram has like 150,000 followers right now and hundreds of thousands of views on videos where they're showing their brushes. This definitely is going to be a set unlike anything you've ever owned before, so that's definitely a fun and cool pro to purchasing it. Another pro, and this one is a big one for sure, you are getting a great assortment of brushes, and this would be a great set for a beginner. If you know someone who is starting out with makeup, or if you are someone that's starting out with makeup, I think that this would be an awesome set to get for you. You're getting one of everything that you need. You could see I was literally able to complete my entire face with only these 10 brushes, and that's awesome. A lot of brush sets you can't complete a full face with, and I think it's great to start with something like this that is more on the cheap side so you can really practice and get good and learn techniques and not have to worry about messing up or using or breaking a really high quality, really expensive brush. So all in all, would I purchase this set again? Yes, I absolutely would. I think that these brushes are so cute and so fun. You are getting 10 different brushes plus a case. So that breaks down to a really reasonable cost per brush. I definitely would recommend giving this brush set to a friend or someone who loves unicorns. I think those are going to be the people that get the most out of this and love this the most. And if anything, this could be a collector's piece. I think that would be really cute, just sticking them in a little glass cup or something and having them sit on a vanity and look pretty. And at the end of the day, I definitely do have some makeup that I've bought specifically because it was pretty and it was going to look pretty on my makeup desk. So that is it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope if you were considering this brush set that you were able to decide after watching this whether or not you did want to get it. I hope that this was helpful and at least a little bit interesting and fun to watch. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did or you learned anything, definitely leave me a thumbs up. If you haven't, I would love if you subscribed. I hope you will tune in again for future videos. It was great to see you guys. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!